get outshot 14-2 in a period and then outshoot the other guys 20-6 the next, the Leafs need to decide who they are.
Yeah, man, I think you need to decide who you are.
Huh?
You can't be more than one person, Steve.
Have you been drinking?
I'm a Leafs fan. What do you think?
What? You serious?
Mind blown. We need ideas.
I'm dumb. Silly hard.
We get to the game, please.
Happy St. Patrick's Day! I know the Leafs didn't actually play on St. Patrick's Day because it's Monday, but if you drink then you have an issue. Or you're in university. Leafs lose 4-2 to the Washington Capitals.
Gosh, the mighty Alex Ovechkin Washington Capitals.
The Leafs actually held Ovechkin to no goals and no assists, which is rare, and just one shot on goal. The rest of the team kinda killed them, at least to start the game. I talked about this like 5 videos ago maybe. Why can't the Leafs start a game? We talked about this. The Leafs shots for and against in the first period are really deceptive because usually for the first half of the first period, first 10-15 minutes, they get outshot to hell. And then they usually get some back at the end of the first, but they just get creamed. Leafs outshot 14-2 in the first, outscored 3-1, and they were lucky that it was 3-1. They scored on 50% of their shots. Troy Bodie, Hart. Reimer having a rough first, but he also got shelled. Leafs D just not giving enough back to Washington. Actually, that's poorly worded. They gave them plenty. They didn't push them around enough. And Reimer, one thing that I wanted him to do was battle back more, and I think he has, but the body language thing. After every goal, it's like some sort of flinch. I know he's not swearing because he's James Reimer, but gosh darn it, phooey! I know it's high stakes, I know he's passionate, I know he wants to win, of course. But I hate that. Oh, I love watching other goalies spaz. Robin Leonard the other night was hilarious, but I don't like when it's the Leafs goalie. Speaking of Robin Leonard, 4-1 leads, am I right? Sorry, after the Leafs lose, I have to make fun of someone else. Second period, all the Leafs look down at their sticks and go, I think I just figured out what this is for. 20-6 they outshoot the Caps. Phaneuf, seeing I shot through 8 people, 4 is 8th. Leafs are within 1 after being down 3-0. What is it with 3-goal leads? I shouldn't be hating on the Caps because they won the game, but the Leafs and the Caps are so similar. They both have star wingers that just get a lot of unwarranted criticism. Most nights they rely pretty heavily on their first line. Their defense cores are a gong show, and they kind of live and die by their goaltending. The Leafs this season, they've gotten better goaltending than the Washington Capitals. One's in a playoff spot, the other is the Washington Capitals. They got Halak, they added Evgeny Kuznetsov, let's see what the Caps can do. They won this one. They actually added Dustin Penner too, and he got an assist in this one, but the reason you might have missed him, he only played less than 11 minutes. Because it's not the playoffs, he's not allowed to be really good yet. Third period, the Leafs just did not have the composure they needed to win. Franzen had an awful shift where he's just standing behind the net forever, clearly doesn't know what to do. Later on in the shift, fires it over the glass for a penalty. Dying minutes of the game, Chimera breaks in past the Leafs D, as is tradition. Jake Gardiner gives him a little tap, and that's another penalty. I know it's very easy for me to say it and harder to do, but in the heat of the moment, don't give the guy a tap. Maybe if it's earlier in the period, you can afford to take a penalty because you know you're preventing a goal, and if you kill the penalty off, you got a good chance of winning. But as late in the game as that penalty was, you know if you take a penalty, you're basically killing your team's chances, or you're really decreasing them. The Leafs just looked off. Unprepared in the first, good in the second, but off in the third. If I'm allowed to make an excuse, which I do often because I'm a Leaf fan, it was basically a noon start for them. They spent almost a week in California playing all those late games against the Ducks, the Sharks, the Kings, and then they come and play a weird 3 o'clock game in an Eastern time zone. I know it shouldn't be that big of a deal, and it probably wasn't that big of a deal, but it can be for some athletes. Their body clock is a little different, and they have their rituals, they have their game day nap, they have their meals, specific times where they eat them. 3 o'clock start. Plus you're playing a team that's hungry to win. The Caps are just 1 point back of the playoffs now. The Leafs were up against it and they failed the test. Simple as that. But the Leafs got to find a way to win games because they got Detroit. They're just as hungry as the Caps, and the Leafs have Tampa and Montreal breathing right down their necks. Question of the game, let's switch it up a little bit. It's always about the Leafs. I want to make it about the Caps. What do you make of the Caps? Was I right in saying they're very similar to the Leafs? Do you think adding Penner, Kuznetsov, and Halak will push them into the playoffs? And secondary question of the game, he was called the best player outside the NHL for a long time, or the NHL's best prospect. Evgeny Kuznetsov, 4th NHL game, picked up his 4th NHL point with an assist. What did you think of Kuznetsov? Because the Capitals have cool jerseys, but I don't know, man, that's his KHL jersey. It's got an angry polar bear biting a stick. He was a fan favorite in Chelyabinsk, and early indicators say he'll be a fan favorite in Washington too. Last but not least, I checked out my first Oshawa Generals game as an official Oshawa resident. They fell 2-1 to the Sudbury Wolves, but it was still a great time, had wicked box seats, went with a bunch of my friends, food, atmosphere. It was awesome. I'm going to be at a lot of games at the GM Center. I mean, the Gens are going into the playoffs in a pretty good position, so if you're ever at a game, just give me a tweet. That's it for this one. Click like if you liked the video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. Check out the brand new Panago Pizza Steve Dangle podcast. We were all really hungover, and I think it's pretty funny. We just talk about hockey and pogs and cartoons and stuff, and I will see you next time.